So you only mentioned transhumanism in the book twice, I think. Once in the introduction when you quote Transhumanist Manifesto, and then you mention it again on page 114. But it does seem to be kind of a specter lurking in the background of the book, especially because you're trying to rebut man as machine ideology all the way through. And somebody like Elon Musk would be, might say, like, but man as machine is a pretty cool idea. How would you rebut the idea that transhumanism is a good idea based on the whole thrust of your thesis here?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely true that transhumanism is the stakes of the book. It's what, I think you said, it lurks in the background. Mm-hmm. And my fear is not that we might develop computer chips that are going to improve people's vision, or even perhaps improve their processing power, if you want to put it that way. I think that whether I'm afraid of that or not, we're going to start doing that those sorts of technologies are going to come into being, and some of them will be useful and conducive to human flourishing. We all, I think, know, however, that not every kind of mechanical intervention into humanity would be useful or good. So if I, for instance, put an implant into a baby's brain that stopped it from ever learning to speak, you would call me a monster. And that seems obvious, except that right now, as we speak, cutting-edge Western medical technology is being used to sterilize healthy children for life. Why is that happening? It's happening because the people doing it have a false and destructive idea about what human beings are, what our purpose is, how we're supposed to be constructed. And because of that, their use of these cutting-edge technologies, which might in other cases have applications that would be valuable, has become, in a word, satanic. And I know that Elon is, roughly speaking, on our side. I know that he's got a lot of good instincts. And I think that if anyone is going to be developing a brain-computer interface given our options of sort of crazy robot overlord geniuses currently operating, I guess I'd pick him. But I still don't think that even a guy like Elon, despite all his talk about human consciousness and how precious it is, has really yet grasped the fundamental distinctions that would enable him to tell a good upgrade from a transhuman monstrosity. And unless we can really incorporate that, unless we plunk seriously for the idea that we are not material accidents, that we didn't just get coughed up out of a sludge, and we're not an insignificant chemical scum on a moderately sized planet, but that as currently constructed, we are indispensable images of God, whose consciousnesses are unique so far as we know in the universe for their capacity to confer reality upon the otherwise unresolved potential of the universe. Unless we can really confidently affirm that, and I think we need theology to do that, we will ultimately not know how to move safely and even virtuously into a future that includes all sorts of technologies we can't even envision yet. So it's not because I think we should never use technology to ameliorate our defects. We already do that all the time. It's that there's plainly a derangement already operative in the culture about what humans are that is leading to a derangement about how we ought to use our technology. And the next step in that derangement is obviously transhumanism, which says not only is your gender immaterial to the essence of you, but everything physical about you is immaterial to the essence of you, and therefore the raw application of will is sufficient to determine whether you should have a third arm growing out of your chest. And then suddenly, of course, you're thrown back on all the old questions. Whose will? Who gets to decide? And when? What sorts of tests do we do on babies in the womb? And how are parents entitled to alter them as they grow, right? Those questions are all terrifyingly open unless you have a robust idea of human personhood as an endowed good. And that's my argument against transhumanism properly understood. It's not an anti-technology argument. It's a pro-human argument.
Thank you for joining us for this conversation. If you want to hear other conversations like it, you can subscribe. You can also find our content wherever you get your podcasts, or you can head over to thebridgehead.ca where we post both written commentary and video. Thanks so much for joining us.